YouTube, Tiger Metalhead Weatherman here. This is going to be up just a little bit after lunch, but we're doing the weekend forecast today, and we also have a slight risk for severe weather. A lot of changes have happened over the last 24 hours with this. Really, there's been a lot going on over the last 72 hours. Mini storms, big tornado outbreak yesterday, by the way. Over 40 tornado reports, actually 42 from what I'm seeing here. We do have a slight risk that does have all three hazards, including tornadoes possible with that, but that might be earlier in the day. There's a lot of uncertainty with this forecast. Honestly, as of right now, kind of leaning towards more of a downtrend, which is good. But this is partially what we're dealing with this weekend, and we also have two marginal risk areas at the moment. We have one that's over towards North Carolina and Virginia. This has a tag for hail and wind. No tornado threat with this one. This has a tag for more damaging winds and a very marginal tornado threat as well. This is most likely going to be instability fueled. There's a lot of cape or convective available potential energy there. The wind profile with this setup here towards the northern Mississippi Valley here, or Mississippi River Valley, is not that impressive to me. Yesterday it was looking far better than what we're seeing right now. I'm wondering if some of that energy was used up yesterday, because yesterday was absolutely insane. I also want to thank anyone who caught last night's live stream. We got to see the second half of it, and we saw a couple tornadoes on stream, including a wedge that ended up being rain wrapped. Thankfully, it looks like it missed a good chunk of town, but there's still some damage reported with that. Then last night over towards Texas, apparently, in the overnight hours, there was a confirmed tornado that sadly a few people didn't make it through the storm. Many injuries, lots of damage. But that just kind of shows how things have been so far. So we can't let our guard down again today. There wasn't really a high threat of tornadoes over towards this region. So just because your threat is low, like a 2% area, like what we're seeing here, doesn't mean your threat is zero. So just want to make that very clear. Just want to put that very clear reminder out here. So this is looking into Sunday. There's no tornado threat with this at the moment. It could change, but the wind and hail threat is definitely there. It's a 5% area, so it's marginal, but it's not zero. Nonetheless, it looks like towards the western half of the Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley as well, we could see some strong storms possible tomorrow. And that's what Sunday's looking like. And then as we even head into Monday, we'll go ahead and take a look at that really quickly. Southeast looks like the main area of interest here. Marginal risk, most likely going to be a damaging wind potential. Very small threat area. But it does include Atlanta, it does include Savannah, and heading towards the Gulf. Not towards the Gulf, but the Atlantic coast here. Are you serious? All right, so now we're looking at the models here. We're looking at the upper level wind patterns starting out, and this setup already starts to deteriorate as we get into the early afternoon hours here. This is from an early morning model run that I've seen for this afternoon, and there is some type of wind profile here, but it's not super pronounced. If you compare this to yesterday, the difference is almost night and day. And by the time we get towards tomorrow, we see a similar situation set up, and that's why the tornado threat's pretty much zero at this point. But if this persists, shouldn't see too much coming out of this setup. I am kind of interested to see what Monday looks like. I don't expect much to come out of that. I think that will really be an early morning type of deal, if anything severe were to emerge. And even as we look towards the low-level jet here right now, it isn't really impressive. I really am thinking it's towards the mid-levels where things are a little bit more interesting. There is a very small area here where we could see a little bit of activity here, but it's relatively limited. If we look towards the mid-levels where the short waves often end up firing off, you do see something here. But when we go later into the evening, it's gone when peak time for storms would be emerging at the moment. These storms could form early in the afternoon, so the timing is going to be key. But I'm kind of leaning towards the timing being a little bit more unfavorable in this setup. So as far as severe is concerned right there, as far as a kinematic standpoint, not a whole lot to really write home about, so to speak. If we would look at the temperatures, though, still more than sufficient enough for storms. Still get up to the 70s and 80s here. Storms seem like they will start to fire just a little bit after lunchtime here. The timing of the kinematics is going to be key for any sort of development. By the time we get later into the evening, we start to destabilize very quickly, so I don't expect this to be an overnight type of threat, which is good news. And then, of course, as we go later into the weekend here, we pretty much see a large portion of the country really starting to heat up here. We even see those 80s and 90s stretching all the way into the western U.S. here, even towards the northwest for states like Oregon and even Washington here, which is pretty crazy to see. I'm not used to seeing them that warm. Over the western and southern part, over the central and southern parts of the country, we already know the deal. It's pretty warm, and we're even getting 70s all the way into Canada, which is crazy. Just this tiny little pocket right here. Didn't mean to click that sounding. Even across the northern parts of Canada, even north of the border here, Canada, we're getting into the 70s here, which is pretty crazy for this time of year. We normally don't see that until about maybe another month or so from now, if even that, but just shows the kind of pattern that we have in place here. Could see a lot of severe weather in Canada possibly with this kind of setup maybe. I don't really get a good look at the Canadian models here, but maybe down the line, depending on what goes on here, I could maybe take a look or sneak a peek or two. But really, this is what we're looking like throughout the week across a large portion of the country. Very warm mornings for a lot of us. Almost everybody at some point is looking like they're going to be above average. Maybe towards the mountains we might be a little bit below. But the entire country looks like they're going to be warm to start out the week and through the weekend here. Go ahead and look at the other part of the thermodynamics, which is going to be dew points. And we do have sufficient dew points across the northern Mississippi Valley, River Valley. But outside of that, outside of the thermal, there's just really not enough to. There's really not enough of the other dynamics needed to really go around here for severe weather. We'll go ahead and look at the composite reflectivity. We aren't expecting any snow at this point, so we're going to mainly be looking for the threat of severe weather. Do see some storms start to pop up just around lunchtime here for these guys. And then as time goes on, we could see a few potentially discrete storms pop up around, I would say maybe 3 o'clock for these guys. And then just as quick as they form, they kind of fall apart here, especially as we get later into the evening. Then we see this little MCS move its way into the western parts of the Ohio Valley, into the Tennessee Valley. And then, of course, we'll see that MCS maybe try to work its way into the southeast by late Monday. That's pretty much what we have going on there. I'm going to take a look at one last bit of thermodynamics here, and that's the convective available potential energy, or CAPE, as it's called. It's the acronym. CAPE is moderately impressive over this area. If you don't have a lot of instability, it can make things relatively difficult for storms to fire, and that definitely seems to be the case here. You also have to, of course, have the other dynamics there, and not really a whole lot in abundance here. Definitely a major downtrend in comparison to yesterday. But can't say that storms won't fire, but definitely a huge difference, to say the least. I know I keep harping about that, but it's just kind of shocking how quickly things change sometimes here. Just like yesterday, we weren't expecting a whole tornado outbreak, and here we are talking about it this morning, or this afternoon. But that's pretty much what we're dealing with here in the whole country here. Going to be a moderately active weekend, especially towards the central and eastern half of the country. Getting very warm in the west and also to the south. A few areas of sneaky storms are possible here, but I think the worst of the severe threat may be over here, which is some good news. That's all I got for this video. Be sure to smash that like button, decimate that subscribe button, obliterate the share button, and flood the comment section here. But this has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman. Appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to get that bell on, by the way, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's no live today, so there may not even be a need for one, hopefully. But until the next one, take care. I'll probably see you Monday.